The Watergate scandal of 1972 is largely regarded as journalism's most heroic moment in American history. The press was never more respected than during this time, but how much of a role did journalism really play into the resignation of President Nixon in 1974? And what's happened to the public's trust of the press since then? Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein of the Washington Post are most favorably credited for architecting the narrative that ultimately led to Nixon's downfall. It was a shining example of the power of the press and a final stamp on the golden era of journalism. The two reporters became so recognizable within the Watergate saga that there was a movie made of them based off their book, All the President's Men. The movie tells of the duo's hard-hitting investigation of unearthing Nixon, but Woodward and Bernstein didn't take down Nixon on their own. In fact, they had a much different role in the outcome than many people may believe. After getting the tip about the 5 men arrested at Watergate, Woodward came across the phone number of E. Howard Hunt in a notebook that belonged to one of the burglars. Woodward later discovered that Hunt was a former CIA agent and current consultant to one of Nixon's personal counselors. No one else was even picking up on the story, and now Woodward suddenly had a connection between the burglars and the White House. After realizing the possible magnitude of their story, Woodward and Bernstein continued to diligently write about the unraveling of Watergate and the possible White House cover-up. But the White House was already beginning their own investigation on Nixon, and according to Watergate's special prosecutor Richard Benveniste, had not the President of the United States taped himself, he would have stayed in office.
Anything to be gained from telling him anyway. But you can tell him that our investigations indicate that the grand jury is hot on the trail of breaking a thing now. Yep. That's the way it's going to come.
It was the seemingly confidential conversations President Nixon was having in the Oval Office that cornered him into the decision of resignation. Journalism may have contributed to the hastiness of Nixon's downfall, but it was far from being the most important player. That doesn't mean that Watergate scandal didn't leave its mark on journalism. On the contrary, the press was molded into the highly skeptical investigative machine that we see today, thanks largely in part to Watergate. So how did the media lose so much of the public's trust over the past 40 years? The watchdog-type journalism that won the respect of the public during Watergate is the same reason for the distrust in journalism today. The public began to notice a trend in the media during the coverage of President Clinton's scandal with Monica Lewinsky. The watchdogs wouldn't stop barking, and much of the public thought that the press lost control and the sense of what was important. Watergate remains a prized moment for journalism history, but should also be seen as a reflective moment for the press to improve upon.